Morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Fly With Us podcast. This podcast is bringing the art of conversation, self love, self care, mental health care and protection, life lessons, love lessons, and everything in between. Today, we're going to talk about male and female energy. I'm your girl, Lady Bounce.
And I am Picket Fence. Today's Mindfulness Minute is about energy, masculine and feminine. Regardless of gender, we all have masculine and feminine energies within us. Having a healthy balance of both qualities can help you to be more goal oriented yet surrendered, logical yet intuitive, confident yet receptive. When you are energetically in harmony, you are more likely to contribute more meaningfully at work, home, and in society. Masculine energy is often associated with confidence, structure, and decisiveness. It helps us to plan and diligent in our paths and provide stability. Feminine energy is often expressed as nurturing, fluid, artistic, intuitive, empathetic, and full of faith. When harnessed, you can release and you can re- release and surrender control of the outcomes and your imaginative and inspired energies. These energies help us to be sensitive, compassionate, and gentle. Word up.
Word up. So, I'm going to follow up your mindfulness minute with a quote from a book that I saw online, which actually sparked this whole show. So the quote says, as a man, you need to understand and maintain your masculine position so that your woman can stay feminine. When men slip into feminine energy, it forces a woman's energy to flip upside down into masculine energy in the relationship. Women can tolerate this temporarily, but not for long. Eventually, she'll be pissed off with taking on your roles and she will lose all attraction for you. And this quote comes from the book Hard Times Create Strong Men by Steph Barnum.
Hmm.
So we saw this quote on the internet, and you and I both immediately felt some type of way. So tell me, how did you feel about it?
Um, I think that it's wrong. I think that it's wrong. I think that like in the mindfulness minute, you have to have a balance and in yourself. You have to have the balance of masculine and feminine energy within yourself. You have to be able to keep both of those in check. There's time that you need to be strong. There's also times that you need to be nurturing. Um, and it's about knowing when, having the emotional intelligence of when to activate each one of those more.
Okay, well, I agree with everything that you just said because I think that the quote is also wrong. Now, I have not read this book, full disclosure. I don't have any intention on acquiring or reading this book. So there's that. But I do agree that there are times within myself that I can feel, okay, today I'm more in my masculine energy, or today is a day that I really gotta take more control over what's happening around me or what's happening to me. And so I gotta toughen up a little bit, if you will. But in that same spectrum of my masculine energy, I'm fluidly female all the time. So my female energy is always flowing. And then my feminine energy that is strong, it also kicks into gear. So I have both, and I agree, you have to have a mix of both. That's what makes you a whole well-rounded person, because you can slip into those roles, or I think it's fluid. I think it moves along a spectrum unless you work really hard or you choose to be only in your male energy or only in your female energy, which
Mhm.
is something that I tell my students, because I work with students who are LGBTQIA. And in doing so, I always have to tell them, be comfortable, in your skin, be comfortable in who you are. Today, your masculine energy may be taking full charge, and tomorrow, your feminine energy may be taking full charge. That isn't a bad thing. It can only be good when you are that in tune with yourself that your body and your spirit feels like it can flow smoothly along this spectrum. It also speaks to the people that you surround yourself with, allowing you the space to fluctuate between the spectrum of your masculine and your feminine energy.
Mhm. Yeah, 100, as the kids say. 100. I mean,
So,
we've known for, or at least the conscious community has known for quite some time that it's about balance. That's where you get the symbol, the Star of David, with the triangle going up and a triangle going down. It's about having balance. You have the yin and the yang, which is about a circle with one side black, one side white, about having a balance in those energies. So this is something that we've known for thousands of years and have mostly kept in practice. I think what changed that is when we became more of a Western society, which is based off of Christianity, and the man is the most dominant, the female is the most slave-like, and
mhm.
and only the men should be preaching, and the women should just be at home in the kitchen. So that whole Christian Western society had changed our natural sense to balance in energies. And since we've been in the West, this has been preached and preached and preached and driven and hammered in our heads.
So why do you think that is? Why do you think it's been hammered into our heads in such a way that it has these unrealistic gender roles?
Because it's about control and domination. Um, Plain and simple, it's about control and domination.
But who's trying to control who and dominate what?
Well, I mean, you know, we come from a male society, especially in the West, that about men should be in control, and women should be totally submissive. And I don't think that that's so. I mean, you need balance in everything. It's like you always quote about how nowadays you have women saying, "I don't need no man," blah blah blah, and we need to realize and accept that we need each other, men and women. Men need women, women need men, and you need that balance to each other.
I certainly agree with that because I've gone on plenty of tirades about that. I don't need no man. I don't need a man to do nothing for me. Yes, you do, and you're supposed to. I don't know where it became crossed that the thing to do or the thing to say is to be self-made, or I don't need nobody but myself. Like, we weren't designed that way.
No.
Humans by design are designed for connection.
Mhm.
That is why it takes two to make a baby. That is why it is most the best way to raise children is in a two-parent household. So they get the hard and the soft, they get the logic and the creative, they get the love and the empathy. They get all of those things. And men are loving and empathetic as well, and they need to be able to show it and display it, and to show and display and teach it to their children. Because if I hear one more father tell his son boys don't cry, I think I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah, that's
Boys
dumb.
do cry. They're supposed to show emotion. It's okay to show emotion and be emotional, but as a society have come to, I'm so hard, can't nobody bother me, ain't nothing messing with me. And it's okay to have that mindset to say, my mind is so strong that I'm not going to let the weak masses destroy my mental. But when it becomes toxic, and
Mm.
the toxic independence, then that's not good, because then you look arrogant, or you look stuck up or stubborn, or even unapproachable. When you say things like, "Oh, I want to be in a loving relationship with somebody," but then you display traits like that, and that runs people off.
Yeah, because that
Nobody
shows you don't
wants
know
to
how
be
to love.
exactly, and
And to
nobody wants to
receive
have
love,
to
you
deal
have to
with
be
that.
able to know how to give love too.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I mean, another thing this sparked this conversation. You saw a post from someone talking about the recent Black Panther movie. Now, what was that about?
Mm-hmm. Oh, hold on, because I think I screenshotted that one as well. So basically, the person who posted it was saying that they're never going to watch a Marvel movie again because it didn't like the way that the women took over, and the women were the protectors, and the women were in charge. And his thought, and the thought of some of the men who got on his status, was of the same mindset. That you mean to tell me after T'Challa died, it wasn't no more strong men in the village that could have took over, that the women had to take over? And I was like, oh, little fragile there, little fragile male ego coming into play.
Okay, well, one thing, just to jump real into it, spoiler alert, a little bit of spoiler alert. One thing is, this person probably wasn't a true Marvel fan. Didn't know
Okay.
the backstory of Marvel stories. Also, this person does not know good storytelling. Um, because this isn't about a female dominant or female taking over. This story was about a particular female, um, the princess of Wakanda, and the things that she was going through. So yeah, the story is about her struggle, but it's not about her dominating over masculine. It's about the things she experienced pain. She had to make decisions. She had to be strong when she didn't think she could be strong. She had to
Mm-hmm.
make decisions that were going to not only be beneficial to her, but be beneficial to the world. Because as a princess, a potential queen, you have to make hard decisions that's going to be beneficial to all parties and not just your personal space. So she had to balance that masculine energy of knowing what moves to make, but also the feminine energy of being empathetic in those moves she would have to make.
Mm-hmm. Now
And
there
it
was
wasn't like
one
there
thing.
were, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And it wasn't like there was no other men in the village. There's plenty other men in the village that are in the movie that take action in the movie. So I don't know what movie this person was watching. But go ahead.
There was one part about the status, or the comments that made sense to me as far as the movie. I wish that the quote unquote enemy of the movie, or the villain of the movie, didn't have to be, a brown person, as they say. So another spoiler alert. I believe if the two villages had got together and combined forces, they could have fought the real enemy, which is the people who were, trying to take over the vibranium and take over Wakanda and weaponize it. That was the enemy. You know what I mean? So the two entities that end up fighting and going at each other for dominance, I think that could have been written better. But I agree with what you said about, it was about Shuri coming into her own, dealing with the death and loss of her brother, and then the death and the loss of another prominent member of her family, and how she rose to be queen, and how she had to balance the hard and the soft to be able to get there, to balance her logical brain, because she is a scientist and she is an engineer and she's very, very smart, but to balance that with the emotions that she was feeling as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of layers to her story. Now, this particular person that you were talking about also made another status with similar thoughts about Woman King. So, if you haven't got it already, I'm kind of sensing a theme with this guy, that he has a problem with women, or that he has a problem with strong women.
Mhm.
Because even in the Woman King, he said the same thing. Like, there were no men around to take over, and why weren't there any men? Why was it women protecting the king? And why did they throw, the same sex kiss at the end of the movie? And that could have been left out. And it's basically saying that, women are just going to be with women, and women don't need men. And it's structurally programming us to not need men, or to not want men, and to be lesbians. And I was like, wait, you went a little too far.
Yeah, again, this is. Uh, uh, but before we go to that, I want to back it up to the point about the brown being another person of color and a fight. Now, throughout history, we have had POCs that have kind of been pitted towards each other, and I
Hmm.
think that it showed that. But if you watch to the end, his girl, the antagonist in the movie, his girl says, "Yo, we should have just kept slaughtering him," and he's like, "No, I got my point across. It will be a time that they realize that we aren't the real enemy, and they will come to us." So that's just on that part. But on to the Woman King. And once again, you have to watch the movie. If you watch the movie, you see that there are men fighting along with the women. Um, the king may want, in a lot of tribal societies, the king may want the women soldiers because he feels like he could trust the women soldiers more. But there was a squadron of men warriors and it was a squadron of women warriors. And when it came to the main battles, they fought together. And once again, this isn't a Marvel movie. This is a movie based off of real people. Of course, with movie, you got to add the movie magic and alter the story a little bit. But this is what the Marvel female warriors is based off of the women in this movie. So
Right.
yeah, this is a real fighting force. And there was a real woman king. And that's what you want is balance in your society. And that's when they realized that their specific society will be stronger by having a male and a female leader coexisting.
Exactly. And if you think about that in terms of parenthood, when it comes to rearing children, you have a male and a female. You have a mother and a father. So if you think about that movie and you take it as a metaphor for life, and you know, just I'm black, so I can only speak for being black. But as black people, you look at that, they realized that they needed a woman and a man to rule their village.
Hmm.
How come that thought process doesn't trickle down to households? That you need a
Yeah.
man and a woman to rear and raise happy, whole children.
Hmm. Well, and it's like I said, we've been westernized for hundreds of years now. So until we could get back to that point, I think as African Americans, we will continue to struggle as a whole. There will always be some of us to thrive, but as a whole, until we have balance in our lives, masculine, feminine balance, it's going to be hard for us to understand a unique structure of society and how that unique structure can be thriving.
And I also, while I'm thinking about it, I want to put this out there. This conversation, in my thoughts and opinion, in no way is shaming or excluding non-heterosexual couples from this conversation. This particular conversation came out of a conversation that you and I had based on some things that we had seen posted. And this is not to say that lesbian couples or homosexual couples cannot raise good, happy, whole, healthy children. That's a whole different conversation. So I don't want to like put anybody off like, oh wait, they're only talking about straight couples. No. I'm specifically talking about straight couples because what I see in the broken children that I work with are children who come from heterosexual couples who are no longer together, and these heterosexual couples are now with other heterosexual people. So I'm speaking specifically of the single black moms or single black dads who are dating other people of the opposite sex. So I don't want anybody to be like, oh, they over there and they excluded us. No, this particular conversation is only geared to a certain demographic of couples raising children.
Hmm.
So I put that disclaimer out there.
Or Word up.
Word up. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't need nobody, trying to write into the show talking about, well, you forgot about me and my partner have been together for 40 years and we raised 5 great kids. That's wonderful. I love to see it. However,
Right.
that's just not what we're talking about today.
Right. Right. We're talking specifically about um, things that we've seen posted in regards to uh, couples that are men and women couples, or dominance of man over woman, or man or woman over man. That's what this is about.
Yeah, exactly. And to the I don't need a man or I don't need a woman. Yes, you do. Get rid of that thinking. Put that thinking. I don't know where to put it, but don't ever spew that. Don't ever say that. Don't ever think that. It is okay to need somebody. We need our parents until the day we die.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about, how often you called on your parents, as an adult, but I called on both of my parents frequently as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to normalize needing a man, needing a woman, wanting a man, and wanting a woman. The
Mm-hmm.
same way that we normalize wanting and needing your parents from the day you're born to the day you no longer have breath. And they just don't get the same kind of attention, they don't get the same thought process, and they should,
Right.
because you need each other. I need my
Right.
man. I need my man to help me raise his kids, to help me pay bills, to help me cook and clean. I need companionship. I need friendship. I don't want to be lonely. I also at times need somebody when I'm off balance to check me and help me regain my balance.
Mm-hmm.
When I am too far to the left or I'm too far to the right or not enough of either, I need somebody else who can see it better than I can, who loves me enough to tell me in a loving way, hey, you're off kilter, you're off balance,
Mm-hmm.
let's reset. There's nothing wrong with that. But we seem to make that, oh, don't be correcting me. Don't be telling me what to do. Don't tell me how to think. And it's not taking correction or even taking direction. It's mainly saying that somebody sees you and they love you enough to say, hey, you're off balance.
Right.
You're doing yourself a disservice right now. And because you're doing yourself a disservice, you can't be of service to anybody else because you're so off balance. And we
Right.
really need to get back to being able to do that for one another without it being, a fight or some kind of negative competition. Like, you are not my enemy. And then, of course, there brings in the age old question, which I'm going to ask you is, as a man, is it important? Does it matter to you if your woman makes more money than you? Like, who should make
Absolutely
the
not.
most money?
Not absolutely not. This society is not Little House on the Prairie days. Um,
Okay.
every dollar, quarter, nickel, dime counts in this world that we live in today. And sometimes a woman is going to make more depending on what type of position she has, depending on how the economy is at the current time. And I think that's not a thing. And I've seen women say a man got to take care of everything, but and that's the may have been true in the happy days. One day's
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, Thursday happy days, but this ain't those days no more. These the everybody got to grind together. We all trying to stack whatever we can, find extra ways. When we had kids, we was doing all types of hustles, incense oils, along with doing shows, and we're still doing the same thing now. It's every little dime we can pick up, every little penny. Find that penny on heads, pick it up for the rest of the day. Have good luck, you heard?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. You and I, throughout the years of our marriage, we fluctuated. There have been times where you've made way more money than me, and you never held it over my head. It was never like you controlled the money. I couldn't spend what I wanted to spend, or I couldn't go do certain things because you controlled the money or you controlled the purse strings, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Then, there have been times by virtue and nature of my profession that I've made more money than you, depending on where you're working at the time. And it's never been an issue. It's never like I've never held it over your head like, well, I make all the money and I make all the decisions and you a punk and a simp because you ain't making no money. Because to me, like you said, that's stupid. We both gotta eat. We both got kids to take care of. And at this point, we have a kid in college that we have to maintain and keep in college. So the money hustle doesn't stop. And it doesn't matter who makes more as long as the end result and the end goal happens.
Right.
Meaning, we're eating every day, our car's eating every day. We've got clothes, we've got the things we need. We may not have all the things that we want per se, because your
Mhm.
wants are always going to grow, your wants are always going to change.
Mhm.
But that's okay. Like I can honestly say, like, yeah, I want some things that I don't currently have, but I have everything that I need.
Right.
And I'm okay with where I am in my life as far as having the things that I need and then getting some of the things that I want when I want them. I mean, I think the only thing that I don't have that I want, besides a personal driver, a maid, and a chef, it's probably maybe just a bigger house. But then again, since we're empty nesters, we just gonna take this house we got and flip it and expound on the room that we have and and use it to our advantage. So really
Right.
and truly I can say that there's nothing that I don't have that I really want and just have to have.
Right.
Like you know what I mean? Like we're doing all right.
Right. So what's a good self-care assignment for this week, you think?
Um get off that BS. I'm kidding. um uh maybe find your balance, find your joy.
Find
Find
your
your
balance.
yeah, find your
Yeah,
balance.
I like that. So this week's self-care assignment is find your balance. Go deep within and find your masculine and feminine energy and bring them to balance. Word up.
I like it.
So let's get into my favorite part of the show. Doom, 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 doom. Brain science, science, science.
All right, so we've been talking about male and female energy and keeping that balance, maintaining a balance. If you already have a balance, if you don't have a balance, self care assignment was to find your balance. So now I'm going to tell you why. Male and female brains having a mix of both is common and it offers big advantages for you. From advertising to the workplace, it is often assumed that men and women are fundamentally different. From Mars and Venus, respectively, of course, we all know people who are more androgynous, having a mix of personality traits that are stereotypically considered to be male or female. Importantly, such as psychological androgyny has long been associated with traits such as better cognitive flexibility, sorry, and the mental shift between different tasks and thoughts, social competence, and mental health. But how does this relate to the brain? Are people who are more androgynous in their behavior going against their biological nature, doing things that their brains are not optimized for? It's long been unknown whether there's such a thing as brain androgyny, but a new study suggests it does exist and it is common. So, we are all familiar with the traits that are stereotypically classified as male or female. Men, for example, are not encouraged to express feelings or cry when upset. Instead, they are expected to be tough, assertive, rational, and good at visual spatial tasks such as reading a map. Women, on the other hand, are often expected to be more emotional, nurturing, and better at language. But these differences are likely to be partly down to social norms and expectations that we all want to be liked, so we conform. If a girl is told that it is rude or unbecoming to be assertive, for example, she may change her behavior to accommodate this, affecting her future career choices. Female adolescents, for example, may not be ready to balance both their male and female energy if not given the proper guidance. So, sex in the brain. Scientists have long argued over how different male and female brains really are. There are many reports of differences between male and female brains in literature. Other researchers, however, argue that these differences are tiny and the categories are anything but absolute. One study suggests that psychologically, most of us, in fact, are somewhat on a spectrum between what we stereotypically consider a male and a female brain. Men want sex, women want sex, men enjoy sex, women enjoy sex. So there is not this I know it's often said that women don't think about sex or want sex as much as men do, and men are driven by sex. And guess what? That is not true. Women and men want it just as equally. It's just a matter of how verbal you are or how much you act on it. That is the only difference. So, why does this androgyny of your brain and our balance and energy benefit us? To learn new things in order to adapt to the ever changing global environment, we need to be able to be attentive to the world around us. We must also have mental well being and flexibility and be able to employ a wide range of life strategies. These skills enable us to rapidly understand external context and decide on the optimal response. They help us take advantage of time limited opportunities and instill resilience. Therefore, these skills confer an advantage for people with androgynous brains, with others being less likely to flourish. But why is this the case? This new study that they've conducted revealed that men who conform to typical masculine norms, for example, never rely on others or exercising power over women, suffered more psychiatric symptoms than others, including depression, loneliness, and substance abuse. They also feel more isolated, lacking social conditions. Women who try to conform pay a price too, perhaps opting out of their dream job, excuse me, and taking on the majority of tedious household chores. An androgynous person, however, is not influenced by gender norms in the same context. So that doesn't mean that there's no hope for those extremes at the ends of the spectrum. Your brain is neuroplastic. It is plasticity that makes our brains learn new things and adapt to new ways of thinking. So, to an extent, it is likely that an androgynous brain is influenced by both genetic and environmental factors, as well as an interaction between the two. Studies have suggested that people's level of brain androgyny may change over the course of their life. So, word up.
Word up. I love it. I love it. I hope that this show has taught you a little bit more about balance of masculine and feminine energies and gave you some direction on how we need to move when we think about those things. Of course, you can find our podcast wherever you find your favorite podcast. Remember to like on the Facebook page and share those daily self care assignments with your friends and family. That's our show for this week. It's your boy Picket Fitz.
I'm your girl, Lady Bounce.
We out of here. Peace.
Peace.